We have a process we call test, scale, manage. And that's when we're trying a new campaign for the very first time in a niche that we're unfamiliar with. Maybe we know the market, but we're not familiar with this particular offer or something like that. So we're running it for the first time. We will allocate up to $500 a day for 10 days. And during that 10-day period of time, we know that our maximum exposure is $5,000. And we have an R&D budget that we've set aside for that. And so we know that's our maximum exposure is $5,000. But let's say, for example, that in the first day that we spend $500 and we only generate $200 worth of revenue or new business or whatever. Some people would say, oh, JP, you lost $300. You can't keep that up. But we call it buying data. We're finding out what works and what doesn't. And in the internet space with digital ads, the beauty of it is that everything is trackable and measurable. Every click, every user, every visitor. I mean, everything is measurable. In the old days, Wally Waddles made a statement many, many years ago. He said, half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. I just can't figure out which half. But in the digital space, that's not true. If you're watching things and looking and using the tools, they will tell you what's working and what's not. And so we have this process where we're, quote, buying data. So we're spending $500 a day. And during that time, at the end of every day, we can look and see, did men respond and not women? Did men over a certain age respond and not under certain? Like, where people, what kind of people are responding. And then it's just a pruning process to eliminate what doesn't work and then scaling up what does work, or continuing what does work and doubling down on it. And that process works very well. And 10 days is more than sufficient. In many cases, we'll be in ROI within 2 to 5 days. But we allow up to 10 days to test a campaign like that. So that might even be a more quantified answer of what you were asking.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. I love that answer. I think the next logical question for that is, or scenario might be, for those people, people out there, so they have a product or service they want to sell, they have a general idea of who wants to buy it, but then becomes, where do I spend that $500, right? Because you might spend the $500 on Facebook and go, well, my audience, maybe your audience wasn't there, right? So is it spent on Instagram? Is it just spent on Google pay-per-click? What if somebody's going to go about and use your model, right? $500 a day, 10 days. How do you, in terms of platforms? Again, there's another very general question, but where do you think people should start if they don't have an idea of which platform their demographic is playing with or on?
Yeah, that question is a lot like saying, should you start driving Formula One cars or should you start driving NASCAR?
Right, I know.
And if you haven't raced before, the answer is neither. So,
Exactly right.
So that let me at least qualify the question or the answer to the question, and that is that if you know something about advertising online, then I would, depending on where your market is, and you can figure that out pretty quick, Facebook is a fairly low risk place to start. And it's pretty easy to drill in on certain demographics. And certainly, as we know, real estate agents are generally very regional or geographically confined. So it's easy to control that. Google is the right Google. There's Google Search, there's Google Display Network, and all kinds of stuff. There's YouTube. Can be a little funky because the cost per click can get really high really quick on some of the competitive phrases and that sort of thing. But Facebook, on the other hand, you can at least get in front of people. But I would make sure that you at least, if you're going to try to do it yourself, which, it's like, doing your own dental work, probably not the best idea. But if you're going to try to do it yourself and learn it yourself, then I would do that. I would jump in, like there's some Udemy courses out there that are, they're always running sales. So usually $10, $20, you can buy a course on basics of running Facebook ads and at least jump in there and figure out how to run the beauty of it, as I said, is the downside risk. Warren Buffett said rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, see rule number 1, right? Well, I think it applies if you're investing in your business as well, which is if you're going to go out there and advertise, don't start with a $500 a day budget. If I knew nothing about ads and I was just getting started and I was trying to kind of follow along somebody's template of learning ads, then I'd probably start with a $10 or $20 a day budget. And in a local market, that's actually not bad. Like if you're running ads for a local real estate brokerage, 10 or 20 bucks a day, actually, you can get in front of a decent number of people or a decent percentage of your market. So I would start there. And I would say, look, I'm looking at this like I would go, one step above going to Vegas and dropping it, all on red, right? This is sort of a gamble, but it's a controlled risk. I'm inside these tight guardrails of 10 bucks a day or 20 bucks a day, and at least I can see if people will react to my messages.
Get more content plus free bonuses and resources at jpmaroney.com/VIP.